COVID-19. COVID-19's exact origin story isn't known. However, scientists are now certain it's a zoonotic disease, or one that was caused by the passing of germs from animals to humans. There is an extremely strong consensus among epidemiologists, or scientists who study the spread of infectious diseases, that the COVID-19 virus developed in a bat, and then jumped, likely via another animal, to humans.
The identity of the intermediate animal, if it even exists, is unknown.
But viruses very similar to the COVID-19 virus have been discovered in the pangolin, an illegally trafficked mammal highly desired for its meat and scales. Some epidemiologists believe that the COVID-19 virus passed from animals to humans at a wet market in the Chinese city of Wuhan. Wet markets are common throughout the world, but most lack the diversity of Wuhan's, from which you can reportedly buy not just fish and chickens, but also turtles, snakes, and many other wild animals. Neither bats nor pangolins were on the official list of animals sold at the Wuhan market, but it's possible they were intentionally left off, or that the virus was brought there by a bat hunter or wildlife trafficker who'd already been infected. While the exact chain of transmission is and may forever remain a mystery, there are a number of things we now know about the COVID-19 virus. We know, for example, that it is a coronavirus, so called because of the distinctive spiky coronas, or crowns, that help it to invade a host's cells. Of the 7 coronaviruses now known to infect humans, 4 just cause common colds. Many more coronaviruses circulate only among animals, but whenever an animal coronavirus jumps to humans, there's always the risk that it will turn out to be what we referred to in the previous video as a jerk virus, one that acts as though it wants to make life as miserable as possible for its human hosts. In these cases, we usually have a major problem because our immune cells have no experience with the virus and so are unprepared to fight back. The COVID-19 virus is neither the most deadly nor the most contagious of the jerk viruses, but it has proven one of the most disruptive. The disruption results from the massive curtailment of the movement and activities of billions of people throughout the world in response to the virus. There are 2 major reasons the COVID-19 virus has prompted governments to impose such widespread and severe restrictions. The illness it causes is dangerous, and it can spread really fast. COVID-19 is dangerous because it can be deadly. It kills a small percentage of the many people it infects and makes others very ill. If you don't already know someone who has died from COVID-19, chances are you will soon. And it's quite likely you'll know others who get sick and face difficult recoveries.
Old people and people with underlying conditions such as diabetes and heart disease appear to be most at risk, but plenty of otherwise healthy young people have also died or developed serious lung, kidney, liver, heart, or even brain problems. Another trait of COVID-19 that makes it dangerous is its unpredictability. In the early stages of the illness, some people don't even know they have it. They may not feel bad at all, or they may feel bad because of a dry cough, fever, or other symptoms that are also present in much less worrying illnesses.
Here's why that matters. If people don't know they have COVID-19, they are less likely to be on the lookout for low oxygen levels and other complications that can lead to very negative outcomes if left untreated for a prolonged period. In the disease's later stages, some people with COVID-19 feel like they're on the mend, only to suffer a major downward turn and find themselves struggling to breathe. It's as though the virus has just been biding its time, lulling its victims into a false sense of security before chasing them with brutal suddenness to the emergency room. Ironically, even the fact that COVID-19 isn't that big a deal for many people ends up making it more dangerous. Of course, it's good that not everyone with COVID-19 gets deathly ill, but its relative mildness has a downside. Individuals experiencing only mild symptoms may not make adjustments to their normal routines, and so will likely interact with and potentially infect lots of other people. Things were very different with severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, and Middle East respiratory syndrome, MERS, the diseases caused by coronaviruses that jumped from animals to humans in 2003 and 2012, respectively. While both SARS and MERS killed a much higher percentage of the people they infected than COVID-19 has, neither proved nearly as disruptive, with deaths for both counted in the hundreds and overall cases in the thousands.
These relatively low totals stem in large part from the fact that people infected with the viruses usually got so ill they had to be rushed to the hospital, where they remained in an effective quarantine until they recovered or died.
The spread of the COVID-19 virus by people experiencing only mild symptoms is a problem, but it's one that could be resolved if all those people played it safe and isolated themselves until they felt better. But even then, we'd have a problem because people can transmit the COVID-19 virus when they are 100% symptom-free. A lot of children seem to remain asymptomatic throughout the entire period of infection, and so do an unknown percentage of adults. Even the large percentage of infected adults who end up feeling ill are usually contagious at least a couple of days before the onset of symptoms. Here's why asymptomatic transmission matters so much. Imagine a virus that causes the people who catch it to develop a large purple dot on their foreheads. Let's assume this virus is extremely contagious when the purple dot is visible, but can't be transmitted when the purple dot isn't there. Regardless of the severity and duration of the other symptoms, a disease like this would pose no real threat to the world, because we would simply require people with purple dots to quarantine themselves until the dots went away, at which point they could safely re-enter society. Without the marker of something obvious like a purple dot, all new infectious diseases risk undergoing a period of exponential growth as they circulate between people who have no immunity. We won't bother with a technical definition of this type of growth here. What's important is that as the scary-looking curve on all those COVID-19 graphs shows, the growth of the illness has been exponential almost everywhere it's taken hold. This means that in any one community, the number of COVID-19 cases rises slowly at first, but then speeds up dramatically. For example, in the state of Michigan, it took 10 days to go from 2 to 1,000 cases, but then only 3 days to go from 1,000 to nearly 2,300. An Indian parable drives this point home. A king who loved chess offered a reward to the game's inventor. The inventor asked for something the king deemed so paltry he was offended. The request? That grains of wheat be placed on a chessboard, 1 the first day, 2 the next, 4 the day after that, and so on, doubling until all the squares on the board had been covered. The king ordered his servants to do as the inventor requested, but they quickly used up all the wheat in the kingdom. By the end of the month, they'd have needed 9 trillion grains to cover just 1 square.
Even the great Nobel Prize-winning psychologist Daniel Kahneman admitted underestimating how quickly and widely COVID-19 was likely to spread. As he considered making a trip to France, he felt little concern about the spread of COVID-19 there. At the time, only a few residents of France had died from the illness, and the number of positive cases was rising very slowly. But Kahneman now realizes that what he was witnessing in France in February 2020 was exactly what the start of a pandemic always looks like.